Okay, so picture this. You're packing your bag. You've got your thermal socks, your heavy-duty sleeping bag, maybe a flask of something strong to keep the chill off.
Mm-hmm.
You're heading out, deep winter wilderness. The air is crisp, snow's untouched, and the silence. Well, the silence is supposed to be peaceful. That's the dream, right?
It's
Solitude.
a romantic ideal of it.
Yeah.
Man versus nature.
Yeah.
Finding yourself out there in the cold. People spend thousands on gear for exactly that experience.
Exactly. But today we are going to pretty much shatter that image. We've got a stack of sources here that take that silence and just fill it with absolute dread.
Right.
We're looking at 3 very specific firsthand counts of winter camping trips that went horribly, horribly wrong.
Yeah.
And here's the kicker. The scary part isn't the frostbite or the cold or even the wildlife.
No, the research we're looking at today, it all suggests that the most dangerous thing you'll find in the woods isn't an element of nature. It's the person sitting next to you by the fire.
And that's what we're unpacking, how this kind of isolation, it just acts as an amplifier. You take away the rules of society, you add extreme cold, and human behavior just, it fractures in some really terrifying ways.
We're talking about betrayal, we're talking about manipulation, even raw violence.
And just to set the stage for you, these are detailed first-person accounts. So we aren't just looking at statistics here. We are, stepping right into the boots of the people who survived this stuff.
We get to see how that isolation just strips away all the guardrails that normally keep us civil.
So we've got 3 stories to get through. A trip to the Scottish Highlands that's all about a 20-year-old secret. Then a luxury glamping retreat in the U.S. that turns out to be, well, something else entirely.
Yeah, not about the yoga, let's just say that.
And finally, a survival story from Sweden where a bear attack is somehow the least traumatic part of the trip.
It's really a progression, isn't it? From the psychological to the sociological, and then finally just to the primal.
Let's dive into this first one. It's titled The Angel of Loch Braden. This one reads like a thriller, but it's a real account. We have a narrator and his old friend Luke.
And the context here is just, it's absolutely key. Luke is in a state of acute vulnerability. His mother has just passed away.
He's grieving.
Deeply. And it's right after Christmas, which is already a tough time. And then, poof, Luke disappears. Tells his wife he's going to Scotland to talk to an angel.
I mean, if I got that call, I'd be calling for help immediately. It sounds like a complete break from reality. But our narrator, he knows exactly what Luke means. He knows exactly where he is. Loch Braden.
Because 20 years ago, they were there. The narrator, Luke, bunch of friends, they camped at that exact spot. And something happened that, well, it changed Luke's entire life.
Right. Back then, Luke was the responsible one, the sober one. But on that trip, he wanders off into the woods alone. He comes back different. He claims he saw a literal biblical angel.
And this wasn't just a, whoa, did you see that light kind of moment. This sighting became the absolute bedrock of Luke's existence. For 2 decades, his faith, his moral compass, everything was built on that encounter.
Which brings us to the dark secret at the heart of this. The narrator drives up to Scotland to find Luke because he feels this immense guilt. Why?
Why?
Because 20 years ago, that angel, it wasn't divine. The narrator admits that as a prank, a stupid, reckless prank, he spiked Luke's drink with a small amount of LSD that night.
We have to pause on that.
Yeah.
The weight of this betrayal is just. It's profound. You have altered someone's neurochemistry without their consent. He didn't know he was on drugs. He had no framework.
His brain just interpreted it as a spiritual event.
And the narrator let him believe it. For 20 years, he watched his friend build an entire life, an entire belief system around a hallucination that he caused. That is so heavy.
It's like stealing someone's reality. He inadvertently built his friend's spiritual life. And now, seeing Luke run off to talk to this hallucination in the middle of winter, he realizes how dangerous it is.
So he finds him at the old campsite. It's freezing, snow everywhere. Luke is there, just deep in his grief, trying to send a message to his dead mother through this angel.
And the narrator knows he has to stop this. He has to tell him the truth before Luke freezes to death waiting for a ghost.
Can you imagine that conversation? Having to tell your grieving best friend that his entire faith is a lie? It's a lie you started.
He confesses, just lays it all out. I drugged you. The angel isn't real. It was the acid. He just rips the Band-Aid off.
And you'd expect, tears or disbelief. But that's not what happens. The snap is immediate, and it is violent.
Luke just goes feral. The account says it's just pure rage, no words. He attacks him, tackles the narrator into the snow, starts beating him, strangling him. And the narrator has this moment where he thinks, I am going to die here. My friend is murdering me.
He even says he feels like he deserved it. I brought this on myself. It's the ultimate consequence. But then the violence just stops.
It's so chilling. Luke's choking him, the narrator's fading out, and then suddenly, Luke lets go. He steps back, furious, and says the most confusing thing possible. He says, "The angel told me to stop."
And there's the paradox. The narrator just told him the angel was a hallucination. But in that moment of pure homicidal rage, Luke's faith was stronger than the confession. His brain chose to listen to the angel rather than reality.
So the hallucination, it saved the narrator's life.
Essentially, yes.
Yeah.
The lie created the angel, and the angel saved the liar. It's a bizarre feedback loop. If he hadn't spiked that drink 20 years ago, Luke might have actually killed him in the snow that night.
Wow, that is going to stick with me. The narrator survives, but Luke just exiles him, tells him to get lost, never speak to him again. The friendship is dead.
It's such a stark reminder that you can't control how people integrate experiences you force on them. Once an idea takes root, especially in isolation like that, you can't just fact-check it away.
Which is a perfect segue into our second story. Because if the first one was about a personal delusion, this next one is about a shared one. We're going from Scotland to a luxury glamping retreat in the U.S.
Right. And this is the account of a woman, Allison, and her friend Chris. And again, we're starting from a place of vulnerability. It really seems to be a prerequisite for these things.
It does. Chris has been struggling. He's got persistent depressive disorder, lost his job. He's in a really bad place. He's looking for answers.
And when you're desperate for answers, you are. You're prime bait for any group that claims to have them.
So Chris joins this support group, Mother's Love, and at first it seems great. He's happier, he's more engaged. He invites Allison to their winter retreat, and the pitch is incredible. Heated tents with memory foam mattresses, gourmet vegan food.
An open bar,
and it's all totally free.
Alarm bells. Whenever you hear totally free and isolated retreat in the same sentence, big alarm bells should be going off. In the study of these kinds of groups, we call this love bombing.
Okay.
You overwhelm the person with comfort, with luxury, with validation, all to lower their defenses.
So Allison goes along. She's the skeptical +1. And things get weird fast. They have these seminars. First, it's just nature walks. But then the leader, a woman named Mary, introduces herself. She doesn't give her age. She says, "I was born at 300 ppm.
And that detail caught my eye immediately. ppm stands for parts per million. She's talking about the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere when she was born.
It's so creepy. "Hi, I'm 350 ppm.
It's a linguistic tool. They define themselves by their environmental impact. It frames their existence, their very birth, as a form of pollution. And that sets the stage for their real ideology, antinatalism.
Which is the belief that having children is morally wrong. The seminars shift from save the trees to basically don't reproduce. And Allison is just sitting there trying to be polite. And then comes the gift.
This is it. This is where the trap snaps shut.
They announce that all the male attendees are being offered a special gift, a free vasectomy, performed on site in the conference room of the lodge.
And that's the moment the group goes from a support network to a dangerous, high-control entity. They're demanding a permanent biological modification as a sign of commitment. And for someone like Chris, who's depressed and feels worthless, this offers a really perverse kind of purpose.
Right. He thinks, I can't fix my own life, but I can save the planet by not having kids.
It completely weaponizes his depression. It gives his suffering a noble cause.
Allison obviously freaks out. She tries to talk Chris out of it. You're vulnerable. This is permanent. You've been drinking. But he's too far in. He sees her concern as negativity, and he gets the surgery the next morning.
And watch how quickly the group turns on her. It's a classic swarm tactic.
Oh, it is instant. The moment she questions the vasectomy, the love bombing is over. People are just staring at her in silence. When she finally tries to leave, they're not just rude, they're violent. They scream at her, they spit, they throw rocks at her car as she's fleeing.
Because she threatened the group consensus. In these isolated bubbles, the group creates its own reality. Anyone who punctures that bubble becomes the enemy. Chris chose the group over his friend because the group gave him an identity, even if it required self-mutilation.
And he cut her off completely, starred with them. It's terrifying how fast it happened. One weekend.
It just shows how quickly a vulnerable mind can be rewritten when you isolate it. In the city, Chris could have called a therapist. In the woods, surrounded by free booze and a radical ideology, he had no lifeline.
Which brings us to our last story. And if you think humans are scary in groups, wait till you hear about this duo. We're in Sweden. The narrator's Alf, an ex-soldier. He goes winter camping with a friend named Var.
And Var is a nickname, means wolf, and he's described as erratic, impulsive, the kind of friend you keep at arm's length. But Alf trusts him in the woods because he's a survivalist.
Yeah, bad move. So they're out in the middle of nowhere. February, first disaster. A brown bear wakes up early from hibernation and raids their camp.
It's a chaos scenario. Rare, but it happens.
And in the confusion of a false charge from the bear, Alf takes a bad fall, sprains his ankle really badly. He can't walk.
So now the whole dynamic flips. Alf, the disciplined soldier, is completely helpless. He is totally dependent on Var, the wolf, and their resources are low. No pain meds, not much food.
Var volunteers to hike to a distant shop for supplies. He comes back hours later and dumps out his bag. And it's not just bandages and food. It's vodka, cigarettes, chocolate, a ton of meds. Alf knows Var is broke. He asks, "How did you pay for this?"
And here's the escalation. Var just admits it. He didn't pay.
It's worse than that. He tells the story so casually, the shopkeeper, a woman, wouldn't give him credit, so he beat her. Beat her nearly to death and then robbed the store.
And that's the moment the wild just takes over. Var's operating on pure impulse. He wanted something, an obstacle was in his way, so he removed the obstacle with extreme violence. He feels justified because it's survival, but he also grabbed vodka and chocolate. That's not survival, that's indulgence.
And then the standoff, Var decides they're not going for help. He's going to sit there, drink the stolen vodka, and smoke while his friend is lying there in agony.
It's a hostage situation in the middle of nowhere. But consequences, they have a way of catching up.
A small plane starts circling, and then a man walks out of the tree line with a shotgun. It's the shopkeeper's husband, Oscar.
And there's the flight trigger. Var sees the gun, and he is gone. He just abandons Alf and sprints into the woods.
Oscar fires, misses Var. Alf is just lying there helpless, thinking, this is it. I'm dead because of what my friend did.
He does the only thing he can. He surrenders, raises his hands and prays.
And Oscar stands over him. He sees Alf is injured, that he didn't run, and he spares him. But on one condition: you help the police find your friend.
It's a transfer of loyalty. Var broke the bond by abandoning him. Alf survives by allying himself with the victim's family against Var.
He agrees. They catch Var. He goes to prison. Alf never speaks to him again.
3 stories. 3 completely severed relationships.
So let's pull all this together. When we look at these accounts side by side, what's the big picture? What is it about the cold and the dark that makes people snap?
I think the overarching theme here is that the winter wilderness doesn't create these monsters, it reveals them. In civilization, we have guardrails, social norms, laws, just the presence of other people. We behave because we're being watched.
Right. You can't just beat up a shopkeeper or drug your friend at a dinner party without immediate consequences. Someone calls the cops. Someone steps in.
Exactly. But out there, the isolation strips all of that away. In the first story, the narrator thought the isolation was a safe place to hide a lie, but it just amplified Luke's reaction. There was no one there to mediate.
And in the second story, the mother's love cult used the isolation to speed up the whole indoctrination process. You can't call your skeptical friend for a reality check when you're deep in the woods with no signal.
Precisely. Isolation creates a vacuum. And in that vacuum, whoever has the strongest reality wins. In story 1, it was Luke's angel. In story 2, the cult's ideology. In story 3, it was Var's violent impulse. Right up until a man with a shotgun imposed an even stronger reality.
It really makes you question how well you know the people you trust. I mean, these weren't strangers. These were old friends. Luke and the narrator, 20 years. Allison and Chris, best friends.
And that's the most unsettling part, isn't it? We assume trust is static. I trust you, so I will always trust you. But trust is contextual. You trust your friend to water your plants. Do you trust them when you're freezing, starving, and under extreme psychological pressure?
And it sounds like we don't really know the answer until the temperature drops.
And by then, it might be too late.
I just keep coming back to that first story, that feedback loop with the angel. It's such a strange moral puzzle.
It is. It forces you to ask a really difficult question. What fictions are we all living by that might actually be keeping us safe? And what happens when someone tries to tear them down? The narrator tried to bring the truth to his friend, and the truth almost got him killed. In the end, the lie is what saved him.
Well, on that cheerful note, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
My pleasure.
If you're planning a winter camping trip, maybe do a thorough background check on your buddies. Or, just stay home where it's warm.
And where the coffee is definitely not spiked with LSD.
Solid advice. Stay warm, everyone. And choose your camping partners carefully. We'll see you next time.